And then I guess the second part would be the Metaverse clothing, which is I don't see it as a replacement for physical personally. I see it as its own thing, and I see it personally more as a skin for a metaverse or a game because I don't think it can replicate a physical experience.
That's awesome. So you're creating like a bona fide frontier technology project, which kind of paints, I would say, most NFT projects in like a, hey, like you're not even real Web3. Like, what are you doing? I mean, not to shame anyone, but that's awesome that you figured out this new way of making on-chain art work. And that way you can really say, like, yeah, my blockchain project is really, on chain,
Hmm.
not in some sort of data network or storage center. And I feel like that's a really powerful argument
Hmm.
to make people buy into it.
Welcome to the Proof of Human podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Kim. Proof of Human is validating the human nodes of the Web3 and crypto ecosystem. Why did I start this? Because falling down the rabbit hole hurts. Not only is it a steep journey, but you'll find yourself going at the speed of light and landing with a mighty thump at the bottom of the hole. Amongst countless highly technical concepts, strange digital maneuvers, and even the fact that the entrance to the rabbit hole itself is obscured by alarming headlines in the news, the journey down the rabbit hole is treacherous. Through curated conversations with the people building the next iteration of the web, educational parachutes, and even some lighthearted memetics to ease you down the rabbit hole, consider Proof of Human your ultimate soft landing pad to the proverbial Web3 rabbit hole. Forget giving crypto and blockchain the benefit of the doubt. Gain the benefit of clarity and trust instead. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the IG, and hit up the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and more. And keep up with our weekly content. Ready to discover the next iteration of the web? Awesome. I'll see you down the rabbit hole.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Proof of Human. Today we are joined by Xily, a Web3 native and the founder of the coolest fashion project yet, Haute.png. How are you really?
I've been doing good. Yeah, just hyped to talk about fashion and Web3 today, and just excited to catch up.
Nice. Did you get a good sleep?
No, but I ate some hemp seeds and chocolate for breakfast, so I should be good.
Nice. I guess that's the degen cure.
Yeah,
Hemp seeds and chocolate.
yep.
I love that. So firstly, I want to, thank you for coming on. I'm really excited to talk today about the world of fashion, NFTs, and also the intersection of these two. So tell me, firstly, how on earth did you fall down this treacherous rabbit hole of NFTs?
It was back in 2021, and uh, one of my friends, he minted one of his artworks as an NFT, and neither of us knew what really it was getting into, and didn't make much of it, but later that year, invested some into Ethereum, and uh, that's eventually led to OpenSea and then minting some NFTs, and then after that, like collecting other artists' work, and now we are here today.
Right, creating your own work.
Yes,
That's a pretty cool journey. Also, that must be a very wise or cool friend that you have.
yes, very good art, amazing artist. Yes,
That's awesome.
yeah.
What was the first NFT you collected? Just curious.
Oh shoot, that's embarrassing. It was a derivative project, and I went into it with the same friend, and it was a little what is it? It's a derivative ape project. Little baby apes. It was
Wow.
these tiny little apes. And yeah, I don't have it anymore, but I, I, I was like, why are you buying this? But I guess it was just all new, and um, from there, I was like, oh, okay, I see the appeal of this, and eventually, that's that led to more.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you literally aped in and
yeah,
then you didn't
literally.
stop.
No, little ape then, baby ape.
You
Oh, it was called Little Baby Ape Club. Yeah, so
you little baby aped in
yep,
and now you're here.
yes.
Okay, cool. So now that we've heard about your NFT journey or the starts of your NFT life, what about fashion? What does fashion mean to you?
Hmm.
How did you get interested in the world of fashion? Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started getting more into fashion like a couple years ago. Just real, like real life fashion we're talking about. And it's been really, I guess, fun and exciting to learn about different designers and like a whole another quality to fashion with like materials and then cuts and just like the craftsmanship of fashion pieces that I like. That is what I really appreciate in fashion, and I think it's important because all of us are different, and I think that it's our way to stand out rather than fit in, because it's easy to fit in, and but it's not. Our true nature is like we're all very different, so I think fashion reflects that, and I think it's important to express yourself through fashion.
For sure. Yeah. Like what you wear doesn't define who you are inside, but it's still,
Yeah,
you can generally tell what someone likes or, maybe about their values
right.
by the way they dress.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally. I really like that. And, I want to circle back and reflect on the name of your new project,
Hmm.
Haute Couture. Don't know if I'm
Yeah,
saying it right. Why Haute
yeah.
Couture to begin with? And why not, why did you pick this specific vertical of fashion?
I just like the name. I don't think I pronounced it right, but like hot. Um,
Yeah.
it means high in French, and then I put it next with PNG after it, which is portable network graphics. So it means high portable network graphics, and I think it was interesting. Haute part comes from just fashion haute couture as like play on that, and then the PNG part. I later found out that PNG was actually, I guess, like a rebel file type because they were trying to create a no fee file type that because gifs were, I think, in some situations they took a fee from using it, a royalty, so they created PNG as like low res like alternate file type. So it was innovative that way. Combining these two words was like the mixing of the digital with the physical fashion to me.
Damn. I didn't know that PNG was a rebel file type. In some ways, I feel like that's very reflective of maybe like the NFT space as a whole. Like
Yeah.
we're rebelling from the usual way of creating culture and brands, and it's really the uprising of art. So speaking of art, what do NFTs mean to you, and what do you think makes them valuable in terms of how it's changing the art industry?
Yeah, I think that it's a really interesting and powerful new technology that really gives a lot of opportunities for artists to monetize their work and then also to protect it on chain from a counterfeiting or just copy pasting, and also to distribute it to people that they wouldn't normally reach access to. because it's a new network and there's a lot of collectors that are collecting artworks on it. So I think it's a great opportunity for artists to make use of and create artworks that they can sell and they can support their careers off of.
Nice. That's a really hopeful view of NFTs and art.
Yeah.
It's changed the monetization method. It helps the artists protect their art, which I feel like is at the core of why you'd want a non-fungible token that is verifiable, as in you can see who actually created it. And then to your point, the distribution of NFTs is crazy. Like you can reach every single corner of the internet with them. And I feel like that's such a powerful argument for NFTs. And I definitely see them as the future of art, but I am very curious in terms of what role it plays in the future of fashion, which I see as a kind of art form, but very much embedded in the physical, fabric of society.
Yeah. Well, my project is more of an art project that pays homage to designers that I like. So it's not a wearable. Currently, the projects I have released, they're not wearables or quote unquote digital fashion. They're artworks of fashion inspired pieces that I like, drawn and rendered in pixels. So I see a couple different avenues that people define digital fashion. I think there's like the artworks, and I think a lot of the ones that you see are standalone artworks that might come with a utility, like a real life piece or like a future use in a metaverse. But I think that a lot of the ones that actually exist are just standalone artworks that are minted onto Ethereum or a different chain. And so they exist as, like, I researched some and they exist as a video file or an image and don't actually exist as a 3D file or something you can, download and I guess use in a digital metaverse. So that's like, I was like, oh, I found out that like not a long time ago, like, oh, it's actually not that much. Oh, a lot of them are actually just images and videos of clothing and not actually usable in a metaverse. And then I guess the second part would be the metaverse clothing, which is, I don't see it as a replacement for physical personally. I see it as its own thing. And I see it personally more as a skin for a metaverse or a game because I don't think it can replicate a physical experience. And then the third one, I think, is using it as a tool for brands that are like real life brands to sell their items and let people try it on an AR or VR before buying it, or as part of their runway show, or just to communicate their designs that also exist as physical. So these are the three ways I see like digital fashion existing, and I don't think it can exist, or I don't think it will replace physical fashion, and I hope it doesn't because I still like humanity and our senses. I wouldn't want to replace that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. I think fashion is such a sensory experience. Just to summarize, your three different use cases for digital fashion.
Yeah.
The first one was artwork. So maybe this is for, art collectors or just fashion enthusiasts who want some sort of utility out of their digital fashion. The second was you saw them as skins, perhaps for the metaverse. Maybe this is for a more gamer audience who want to like have, online social experiences digital fashion might be the way that they want to express themselves. And so naturally there's a market for that. And then the third was for brands. So for commerce, which is a totally, viable argument. There are great tools for trying it on without having to go in the store and wait hours in line. It's just like a layer on top of a physical experience. So it really sets the brand apart. So that's awesome. I'm really excited for this. I do want to like dig a little deeper into the wearables part. What do you think about online fashion weeks or like online catwalks that just use these wearables and like try to display the ins and outs of the new outfits? Like for me, I don't know, I never saw the allure of these outfits when I see them in my screen. I'm curious to see like what you think of how effective are these?
So actually, today is, or this week was Metaverse Fashion Week, hosted by
Oh, damn.
the Decentraland, so that's good timing.
Yeah.
But anyway, my personal opinion is I don't feel it's a replacement for a physical fashion runway or a physical show. I haven't actually attended any of these digital runways or shows, so I can't make a completely informed decision. But I have played around in Decentraland and some other metaverses, and I personally don't think the experience can be compared to a physical experience, and I would rather prefer a physical experience than a metaverse one. But I think it would be a cool metaverse concept is one that doesn't even have gravity, because you're working, rather than trying to replicate this reality, I feel like why not just make no gravity, and so why try to replicate this world? So I think if something that pushes those boundaries and gets more creative with that, and the medium of like AR or VR, that would be something I could see being interested in. But as it exists, like as the ones I've seen, I'm not that drawn to. But I think there's a lot of possibility if you make it, for me, if it goes towards the direction of like an installation or like a immersive experience that has maybe a physical element, maybe it has like a physical installation space you go in and experience something through VR or through screens. Anyway, there's some ideas, but I would rather prefer like a physical experience. And if it's digital, I would want to see more things that don't work within like the limits of this realm.
Yeah, I love that. That's hilarious. So in my previous job, I worked for a metaverse marketplace, which is now actually a gaming API parcel. They're awesome. I had so much fun. And last year we attended the Decentraland Metaverse Fashion Week. And just from experience, I thought that the community aspect was poppin'. Like it was very tight knit. I could see as a gamer, it would be a familiar like feeling for me. But to your point of making it similar to like our reality and, putting skeuomorphism at the forefront of their space, it was kind of like, why would I go to this event when I can just go to a real life, like, fashion week and have way more engagement, more fun. I feel like partly they were trying to do it to invite Web2 audiences in, but yeah, I guess it doesn't really work. Like you want to come to something new, spend time like logging in and like getting in there for something different, not to get the same experience that you get IRL, but just on a more level. But yeah, no, I can imagine like a floating catwalk. Even in a real space, if you had like some sort of VR goggles and you just saw the models like floating around you, that'd be really fun. It's a lot to ideate
I
on.
feel like it's not, there's like more that they can push in terms of art as a metaverse as an art form, like in an artistic way. And yeah, it doesn't have to really follow gravity. It doesn't have to follow any rules. And there really is no limit to how much, like there's metaverses that have land limits that's created, but there really is no limit to how much or what you can create.
Yeah, literally limitless. You just have to have like the capacity to push those, the lack of limits, I guess. Let's stay on that concept of limitless. I want to know what you've been doing with Haute.png thus far. How are you pushing the boundaries of fashion, and how has it been like from inception to now? What has that process been like?
Yeah, so yeah, I've been working on it for a while now. It's since 2021, and that was, I released 100 drawings that were one-of-one artworks, and I just listed them up for on OpenSea as a collection, and surprisingly made a couple sales, and I was like really happy about that. And then the year after, I did a generative collection of 1,000 using traits from the first one. So it's been a slow process, but I'm like learning and meeting people and growing this whole time along with it. And I see it as more art project, and the value is in that art itself. And we also minted ordinal or inscribed ordinals last month when they just came out. So I think it's an experiment. It's a art project and experiment that will evolve with the technology as it grows. And I have lots of ideas for where it can go, and I definitely want to maintain eventually a physical aspect to it, whether it's through creating products or creating a platform people can exchange products on. I want to ground it in something physical. So I think the fun part has been to go from something digital from the get-go and then evolving into something that I want to still maintain a physical element of through products and whatnot. So I think that has been pretty interesting because I wouldn't have thought of creating products now given what just making them when I first started. So I think that's something new that NFTs can make a new process that NFTs can allow you to do.
Yeah, wow. I love that, you use NFTs as a sort of experimental playground to create, to learn more and to create different experiences for people. Firstly, I love your resilience, lasting through 2021, 2022, and now we're here in 2023. You recently jumped on the ordinal bandwagon. I do not know enough about that to ask you like really hot fire questions, but I have heard that it's quite the process to get that going. And today, I know we're here to talk about Ort's new project. So share a little bit about Ort Onchain. And for anyone listening, you are granted an allow list spot on their upcoming mint. So stay tuned on that, more to come. Take it away with telling us about Ort Onchain.
Yeah, so this project will be completely on-chain, and it's more of a fun, lighthearted project. It's gonna still be pixels, but cropped to just like the bust and up, and it's gonna all exist on chain, and we're gonna launch on Indelible Labs, which has created this really fun and easy platform that you can put layers in, and eventually everything will be uploaded on chain. All the files will be uploaded on chain, and I believe they're layered on chain too, so there will be no IPFS or any external file storage. So it'll be completely on the Ethereum chain. And as you know, Haute.png kind of evolves with the technology that comes with it. So this is like the next thing we want to be on is on-chain completely. So this is it'll be a bigger collection, and it's more lighthearted and based on the other art we have created, which we still is core collection. This is an experiment in on-chain technology, creating art that is completely rendered on-chain. And yeah, this will be released upcoming to be announced.
Tell me about why you're going on chain, because I mean, from my knowledge, putting files on chain
Yeah.
is, it doesn't make sense in terms of efficiency or cost.
Yeah.
And that's why people choose, external storage like IPFS, Arweave. Is this a trend right now? What am I missing? Like, what do people need to know about the act of putting all of your files on chain? What does it bring to them in terms of value?
Yeah. Actually, when I first got into NFT, I wondered why they weren't all on chain, like why they would link to IPFS or, external. Like just as a newbie, I was like, wait, why are they not on chain? I guess there's a sense of like, oh, if the link breaks or if the files are gone from that whatever it's linked to, then what's the point? And I think there's an added level of like it's really hard locked, I guess. And part of it, I think, comes from ordinals too, which all exist on chain. I think that's what you call it. And there's no any external file linking. And if Ethereum wants to keep up, or I guess compete with that, I think on chain, putting art on chain is the way to do it. And right now it can't put that big of files on chain, or you can, I think it does cost a lot. So, but our project is pixels, so it makes it easier to put on chain. But there's a lot of also experimenting about on generative art on chain, which uses hashes or uses scripts completely on chain that are really efficient and don't take up that much space. Like it could be a HTML code or
Like SVGs?
Yeah, SVGs that are can be broken down to code, and people have been uploading them. And I actually really like this because I think it's playing with the technology itself. It's not just taking something that exists in Web 2, like a PNG or a GIF, and just putting it on the new technology. I think it's really interesting what they're doing just by using coding and then creating generative artworks that like play with the technology itself, like a commentary on itself. And I really like those works. So yeah, putting Haute.png on chain was part of that, and yeah.
That's awesome. So you're creating like a bona fide frontier technology project, which kind of paints, I would say, most NFT projects in like a, hey, like you're not even real Web3. Like, what are you doing? I mean, not to shame anyone, but that's awesome that you figured out this new way of making on-chain art work. And that way you can really say like, yeah, my blockchain project is really on-chain, not in some sort of data network or storage center. And I feel like that's a really powerful argument to make people buy into it. Even just the idea. None of this is financial advice.
What do you think about
but
it?
Yeah.
What do you think about storing on chain?
I mean, I work at Pinata.
Yes.
we were the bedrock for the entire NFT boom.
Yeah.
With projects that put their projects on IPFS. Our main reason was that blockchains are not good at storing data. So IPFS was the closest thing that you could get to, or decentralizing your storage solution rather than putting it in your Google Drive or cloud. Like it still gives you agency. It's not like 100% blockchain native. And maybe I think there's a world where some projects might want to do that. They might just want to be on chain, but I feel like maybe that compromises some of the creative vision. Like I guess you can't put high quality visuals on chain. I mean, if you do, you might have to pay a hefty amount. But I feel like there are some projects, like on-chain that are more like cute and pixelated, and it still works.
Mm-hmm.
It still does a great job at conveying your artistic vision. So yeah, I see a world where both can exist, and it's really up to the founder or creator to pick.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
Yeah.
think they both can exist and should exist as a fall safe. Like, if one, it's good to diversify the options. And yeah, I agree with that.
For sure. For sure. There's always options. Like even cereals, you have different flavors.
Yeah,
So maybe it's like a different flavor NFT.
yeah,
If you're an on-chain person, like go for it. If not,
yeah.
there's a world for
Hmm.
you. That's awesome. How's that going? I'm just curious,
Hmm.
like how is did you have to wrap your head around a lot of complex concepts,
Hmm.
or as a founder or like NFT native person, was that an easy mental hurdle?
Well, the platform I use, they built it really, really easy to upload files. So that whole
Hmm.
process generating has been pretty easy. I'm still finalizing it, but that has been pretty easy just by the platform I'm using. Um, the hard part, I would say, would limit, because you have to think about every layer you use on chain. So you can't just draw 100 and use all of them. You have to be, or I chose to be pretty specific because because each layer costs money to upload on chain. So I tried to be pretty specific with, okay, there's only going to be 15 file types for this and 10 for this, and um, editing. A lot of it was editing out things I didn't want, and then just making sure, okay, we'll just use 5 of this. I guess making it concise as possible. That was, it wasn't too hard actually, but that was, I guess, an obstacle you can face for doing on chain. But it was pretty fun, and the artwork's done, so it's just finalizing everything. And we started releasing some allow with spots so people can start signing up to mint these. And overall, it's just a lighthearted experimental project, and yeah, I hope people like it.
For sure. I think they're really cute. I mean, the NFT that you sent me, I love it. It's so cute. I'm
Hmm.
gonna post it in the description so people can see
Yeah.
what it looks like. Obviously, I'll have your project link as
Hmm.
well. And I think it's awesome. You came from a non-fashion like specific background with a passion for
Hmm.
fashion, and now you're like at the frontier of fashion and tech. So it's very aspirational. So, as we get to our last sort of section where I touch on maybe the
Hmm.
challenges facing the fashion and even like fashion NFT founder industry, what do you think are the biggest challenges for both? Let's start
Hmm.
with people getting started out in the fashion industry and then spread out into individual like Web3
Mm.
fashion founders.
Okay, so physical fashion industry first. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I don't. Uh, I'm not. I guess I don't come from the like a fashion background. But from what I know, I do sell and collect fashion, so I have some experience with that. Um, but for brands, are you challenges, correct? For brands, I think challenges for brands
Hmm.
is there's a lot of oversaturated garbage that is uh, out there. I think that's like really uninspiring designs, and some of them are, my personal opinion, a lot. Some of them are even high name or like big name brands and companies, which I'm not always the biggest fan of. There's like only a handful of designers that I really appreciate and admire, and um, stick to
I
their
want to interrupt
ethos.
there. You don't have to speak on
Yeah.
the brands you think are rubbish, but can you tell us maybe like 1 to 3
Yeah,
brands that you think have done it right?
yeah. Well, right now I think Rick Owens is killing it. Um, and I always like Comme des Garçons, Ray Kawakubo, and there's also some like artisanal, like smaller brands I like that make handmade or like very local, not local, but just small boutique brands I like. So I guess those are the three.
Nice. Okay, cool. I won't ask you about
Yeah,
the
no.
others, but it's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of oversaturated designs that aren't very inspired and pretty repetitive to me. So I think would love to see smaller brands from um, younger designers have more spotlight on them and more attention. I don't come from fashion background. I come from design and other creative like arts. I know that it's difficult for young designers and artists to get traction for their work. So I hope that smaller brands um, can have more attention and um, part of that, I think, is people gaining a greater appreciation for design and art in clothes that's beyond fast fashion. And I don't know how to completely like instill that or convey that appreciation to everyone. But my hope is that that appreciation for clothing and craft and just like things that are handmade will be there in the future. And that's for physical fashion.
Where did you get your appreciation from? Like, how does one go about, I might not know,
Yeah.
but maybe I have really shitty fashion. Where would I go to begin to even like understand the
Hmm.
world of craftsmanship and what textures are good, what's a good cut?
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me, the experience is really different from just looking at something on a screen and actually like feeling it and seeing it in person. Because before, if I just saw something, oh, that's pretty or that's cute, but if you touch it and it feels like plastic or it feels like, um, some cheap material, that will like completely change your mind. So I guess I'm not so swayed by things that just look a certain way because I can also imagine like what it would feel like or what the materials would be. I think one thing is like more like interest in like the materials or like teaching people more about the materials things are made of because a lot of things are polyester these days or synthetics and that's a completely different experience to me than something that's like natural like wool or cotton. Yeah, I like natural materials, so yeah, but I also think those synthetics have a place, and again I think they can create forms that natural materials can't. That materials are actually very important to um, fashion and how we feel in these clothes. I'm
Hmm.
getting off track.
No, I know what you
Yeah,
mean. Like you're like, go back to the roots.
yeah,
Like look at how it's made.
right,
And like, real wool is made to make you feel some sort of
yeah,
way and I don't know, maybe polyester let's make you yeah, you'll feel different.
yeah.
I get you. Like leather makes me feel
Yeah,
like
right.
very,
I
I don't know,
I think
fancy. Like
yeah, leather's awesome. But I guess it's like the material has a story within it from how it was made. Like if it's leather and it's been tanned and people are, you know, processing it with the dyes and I guess the process can be really like messy and like um, intense. So it kind of shows off and like or not shows off, but it conveys itself through how the fabric becomes. Like silk is really delicate. I would imagine like the process of like harvesting the silk from the silkworms. That whole process feels delicate to me. So I think it like that the materials like tell the story of where the fabric comes from, and um, to me that's so cool. Yeah.
yeah. I can actually draw a few
Yeah.
parallels, like with your project. Even, if your fashion NFT art was made on chain, it went through a certain process. It went through, you culling layers and like selecting a few,
Right.
maybe that's like one parallel you can draw
Mm-hmm.
between fashion materials, like the physical
Yeah.
material, and then there's your like digital material.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Like the process shows it is a part of what you experience at the end.
Exactly. Oh, that's so interesting. I want to switch over to the
Mm-hmm.
digital world. On the topic of process, this is such a tangent, but I
Yeah.
want to talk about
Oh,
AI.
okay, sure.
Because AI, the process is like from here, you put a prompt and
Yeah.
then it creates
Yeah. Yeah.
this. But sometimes you literally can't tell, like, was this made by someone or
Hmm.
was it not? So how does that
Hmm.
relay over to the whole theory behind process and outcome?
Mm. I think anything can be art. First, like to set the base. Like anything can be art. I think any process, even the process itself can be an art, like conceptual arts, um, AI, blockchain, on-chain, off-chain. I think these processes can be an art form in itself. So for AI, personally, I don't like a lot of AI generated works because I can tell it's not made by a human. Um, but the ones that I think can be interesting is if there's some sort of I think it can be art form, but if it's just creating pretty art pieces, I don't personally like it, and I can tell it's created by a robot. And I think what gives it away is this like sometimes it can have like the not so good engines, they can create, it can't when you see pixels that are AI kind of blend it so you're like that's not pixel art because the pixels don't line up. And then sometimes yeah, it has flaws like that, and sometimes it's just like way too perfect that it's like okay, it's not even interesting anymore because the imperfections actually make something like a lot of things that are really interesting are really imperfect or they have like handy like the line of a hand. And so those are like the two things. Sometimes it's really jank and pixels all over the place, and sometimes it's just like way too perfect, it's like really boring. So I guess those are the extremes, not extremes, but two ways that it can be flawed. I see in like AI generated stuff.
Right. So AI can be either completely off or way too perfect. And that's like an indication of, oh man, this is not real. And I don't think any of us want that. Like, we don't want art that's not real.
Yeah.
So I guess that solves the problem by
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. I think ultimately it's like
Yeah.
everyone would be drawn to. I hope people don't lose their affinity to things that are made by hand or by you know with imperfections because I think that's what makes everything really unique. And I don't want to live in
Yeah.
an AI dominated world because that would be like giving up
Hmm.
our a part of our humanity or like our sense or of like our difference.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think you are like the example of someone who is very, very much for advancements in
Mm-hmm.
technology. Like, you're into blockchain, you're into, doing cool things with existing, or like, leveling up with our existing
Mm-hmm.
technology, but you also care very much about the old style way of like, craftsmanship and, all of that stuff that people generally don't associate people who are in our industry
Yeah.
with. They think, oh my gosh, they want to get rid of everything that
Mm-hmm.
we see as valuable. But that is totally not true. I think we respect innovation and
Mm-hmm.
quality and just better ways to do
Yeah.
things. So,
The more I learn about this, the more I also want to like do things that are like more primitive. It's like it's so much forward that I also like I need to remind myself of like things that are more primitive or like not even primitive, just physical. So I think in my future works, I always want to like find some balance of those two, and it's something I'll keep in mind moving forward.
Nice. I love that. So let's move on real
Mhm.
quick to some of the problems or challenges that maybe digital fashion creators are faced against.
It can be seen sometimes as a novelty that doesn't really have any lasting, like something that a fad, I guess. It could be seen as a fad where people are not really that interested. But again, for me personally, I see it more useful or interesting if it was in a game or some sort of digital experience that's has a game element to it for me personally. So
Are you a gamer?
no. No,
No. Oh,
I'm not a
interesting.
gamer, but if there is like a metaverse that has a game, I might be interested. But actually, it's funny. The only game I play is Tetris, and that's like the oldest like game with like pixel. I find that funny because it has like pixelated blocks. But I like playing that for some reason, and I don't really play games. I used to play a couple.
Yeah.
But I can see how like digital fashion can appeal to people who play games that have skins and that they can
Yeah.
purchase.
Maybe gamers will become the most fashionable,
Perhaps, yeah,
like, this pocket of
yeah,
society in the
yeah,
future with digital fashion.
yeah. And the other thing I think is that can like help, like or not help, but it has a use case is just for existing brands and partnering with like existing brands and creating. It could even start digital and then go physical. So that's I think it digital fashion on itself isn't really anything, unless it like has some sort of bridge to either arts or gaming, um, AR, VR, something. I think it's standalone. It doesn't really have a definition. I think it's usually connected to something um, that, it's a part of because it's not physical fashion, that's for sure. So I always think of it as a part
Hmm.
of another discipline.
Interesting. How do you see that relaying into fashion education? Just going off on a whole
Mm,
other tangent, but
yeah,
if you could, advise like fashion course professors on, hey, you should put in these two courses or
yeah.
topics into your syllabus, what might that look like?
It'd probably be designing metaverse wearables and creating some sort of platform that you can use digital fashion, whether that's like archive or to like maybe preserve archive pieces, um, or to make a storefront for existing brand. I think, yeah, so one would be like create uh, a VR, AR, digital wearable, and another would be to like create some platform that this could be of use for. And I think that bridges like that connects to itself, or like that those two would connect to each other.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah, because
complete
I know
sense.
like
Um,
modeling, 3D modeling. I think that would be part of it too, because it's definitely,
yeah.
yeah, I think 3D modeling would be a part of it, of that first course. Creating,
Is that with like Blender or
yeah, I learned about the new one, like digital fashion people use. It's called Clo 3D or CLO 3D. I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's CLO 3D. And I looked up some videos of it, and it actually, like, it will mimic a drape of the fabric. So that's more targeted towards
Mhm.
like fashion designers.
Damn.
So I thought, well, that's pretty neat. But like I saw, they could put like a template T-shirt on, and you can pull at it and like mimic how it moves. So
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
that's pretty
That's
cool.
that's mad. Yeah, there's so many tools out there. It's so hard to keep up. Awesome. So let's quickly
Mhm.
wrap up. I want to finish off with just like a fun
Okay.
section. I know that you have a lot of NFTs in your wallet.
Oh, yeah.
If you if you could take any of your NFTs and bring them shopping with you.
Hmm.
I mean, you can't say your own collection
Uh-huh.
here. So let's just pick from, yeah, maybe like your most favorite ones. Like who would you bring to a shopping spree?
I really like the Hialico. It's a little, it's like a pixelated low definition um, bouncing ball I have. But they created an on-chain metaverse that has on-chain pieces to it, and I thought that was really cool. So, and then these are the little characters for it, and I like pixelated things. So this is just like a ball with eyes, and it's pink, and it like bounces.
Why would you take why would you take that one?
uh, I just really like their work. They created this their metaverse. The one I use, I don't think is on chain, but they have lands on chain. Um, but it's all pink and it's all stylized. I like that type of things. It's like all stylized in pink and low definition, and um, it was just pretty cool um, to see like a stylized little
Sweet.
world with little bouncing ball of pink. Yeah.
That sounds super cute. Okay, cool, cool,
Otherwise,
cool.
I think that's the only one I can think off the top of my head.
Okay. What's their name?
What's their name?
If you had to
Oh,
name it, or if does it already have a name?
no. It doesn't have a name.
Okay.
Yeah, unknown.
Unknown. Awesome. All right. Well, Zilly, let's
Mhm.
wrap up here. Where can folks find you on the internet, and where can they keep up to date with the latest of your Haute.png
So
project?
my personal Twitter is 0xILYSM, which is 0x I love you so much. And my project is at HAUTEPNG. So those are both on Twitter. You can find all the website links and OpenSea links through there. Um, and our generative collection is still minting. So that's at art.png.com. And you can still mint one of our 1,000 generative collection pieces. And the next thing will be um, the on-chain, which all holders for all the previous projects, which is the origins and the Haute.png main collection, they all have priority access to the on-chain project.
Sweet. I will drop those links down in the description. Thank you so much for coming on the Proof of Human show today. It was extremely interesting to hear about the world of fashion, NFTs, and
Thanks.
everything around that. So appreciate your
Yeah,
time.
thank you. Thanks, Kelly. Had had a pretty good time.
Thanks. Awesome.